Thank you. Yeah, we're now live, Chair.
Thank you, James. Welcome everyone to this meeting of the Joint Staff Consultative Committee. I'd like to wish you all a happy new year. Hope you had a good Christmas break. Then without further ado, I need to make my announcements. Before the meeting starts, I'd like to invite James to explain how proceedings will work and to confirm that members and officers are in attendance.
Can I confirm the following members and officers are in attendance and can hear us and that we can hear them? Councillor Val Bryant.
I'm here.
Councillor Ruth Brown.
I'm here.
Councillor Claire Strong.
Good morning, everybody, and I'm here.
Councillor Rona Cameron.
Happy New Year, everyone. I'm here.
James Lovegrove.
I'm here, thanks, please.
Ian Cooper.
Hi everyone, yes, I'm here.
Rebecca Webb.
Good morning, everyone.
Are there any other members or officers in attendance?
I am Keith Fitzpatrick Matthews, here representing Unison.
Thank you.
And I am Rena Gandor.
Thank you. Members may request to speak using the raise hand function, and the same function will be used to vote. The chair will notify you when it is your turn to speak. Are there any questions before we start the meeting? I will now hand over to the chair.
Thank you so much. So the first item is apologies for absence. I've received apologies from Councillor Daniel Allen, the chair, hence why I'm chairing as vice chair. Apologies have also been received from officers Debbie Eland and Louise Franklin. Are there any other apologies? Any other apologies? No.
Yeah, just for the notes, it's Lewis Franklin, not Louise.
I thought I said Lewis.
You said Louise, but...
Did I? Oh, sorry. Sorry, slip of the tongue. Thank you for the correction. You're quite on the ball this morning, clearly, Ian, more than I am. Okay, so the no other apologies. So let's move on to item 2, the minutes for the 9th of October 2024. I propose that we take these as read and approve as a true record of the minutes. Can I have a seconder? Do I have a seconder? Rona Cameron, thank you. Are there any comments on the minutes? Anything anyone wants to raise? Can't see any hands. In which case, can we vote on the minutes, please? Yeah, hands up or use the reaction buttons. 1, 2, 3. Rona's got her hand up as well. So 4, yes, we've approved the minutes. Thank you. So this meeting is being recorded and the recording will be available on the North Herts Council YouTube page or via mod.gov, along with the papers for the meeting. Members are reminded to make declarations of interest for an item. Detailed reminder about this is on the, and the speaking rights is on the under chair's announcements on the agenda. I think that's all I have to announce. So let's move on to item 4, the Staff Consultation Forum. Ian Cooper to present.
Thank you, Chair. We've got notes from 3 months, October, November and December. We've got increasing attendance at meetings, which is great news. Some more reps being volunteering and joining the group, which really helps kind of get a good discussion going and get good engagement amongst employees. So just a few brief highlights. So in October, we said thank you to those who volunteered during the flooding in Hitchin, but also put our call out for more volunteers. Always need more of those. We also noted the launch of the local plan, so the council plan even, and then the video was also mentioned in the November meeting. November meeting continued the thanks in terms of peer review and the officers that have supported that process. And then in December, we had the conflicts of interest policy being launched, so a change to that to be strengthened that with our staff. Lots of HR updates in there, but that will come through Rebecca's updates, but also lots of questions about things from building services through to IT. Happy to go into those in more detail if anyone's got any questions on them.
Thank you, Ian. Are there any questions or comments on those 3 reports from those meetings, those 3 meetings? Councillor Strong.
Yeah, on page 15, there was a query raised about the disinfectant sprays and that whether or not they were hazardous or not. I didn't see in subsequent minutes whether that had actually been resolved.
Ian, can you answer that?
Yeah, we did resolve it. We checked the detail. I think from memory, we checked the detailed kind of cost sheet associated. They were fine, but I will make sure the next meeting of
Well, it was only that I think somebody said that they, should the staff be actually using them, because it said for professional use only, and I would hate that we would be endangering our staff, giving them any sort of cleaning materials that were hazardous to them. On the other hand, I would hope that we did have some form of cleaning materials that were going to keep the place spick and span.
You check it out. We will confirm about the SCF meetings to make sure all staff are aware of that. But yeah, we did check it all out and it's fine.
That's right. And I'm sure that was going to be the answer, but I just didn't see it anywhere in the minutes. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. I think that's an important thing to follow up on. Staff safety is paramount. Any other questions or comments? Okay, I think it's just about the cyber attack. It looks like we did well on that. I saw the response from our IT team in terms of we didn't have one, but mitigating the risk, and I think they did a great job. So I just want to say that obviously those kind of risks are getting more and more frequent, and it's really important that we are protected. So that was good. Well done to the IT team in mitigating that risk. Any other comments? No. Okay. In which case, I think, do we just note these? I should know from them. They're for noting, so no votes required. Okay. Approved by member consensus, but there's only been objections raised, so no one objects, do they? Are we all happy with those? Yeah, great. Okay, let's move on. So item 5, information HR update. Can I invite Rebecca Webb to present this?
Thank you, Chair. Okay, I'll run through the paper, starting with 3.2, which is an update on recruitment. The first table shows our recruitment key performance indicator, which is the number of vacancies filled first time. And the comparison shows Q2 for year 24/5 versus the Q2 for the previous year. So you can see that during the second quarter this year, we've had 6 more vacancies compared to the same period last year, and 2 more vacancies were not filled. There have been various roles filled in this quarter, including some of our typically hard to fill areas, such as environmental health and IT. So that's really positive. And as you can see, there are some unfilled posts in the period. We continue to work with recruiting managers where a post hasn't been filled to look at the role, suggest amendments or changes in the role or the process in terms of how we advertise, and often make changes to this so that we can be successful the next time round. 3.3 covers the National Recruitment Campaign for local government, and this launched in November 2024. There are some examples of the materials that have been provided to councils in the paper, and I'm sure you'll agree that it's really eye-catching with some really good positive messages about what it's like to work for local government. Councils are being asked to support the campaign by using materials as part of their recruitment adverts, and we've published an advert in the December Outlook magazine. We plan to continue using these materials to enhance our own branding on social media and customer-facing locations. 3.4 highlights turnover, which has remained below 9% since April. And 3.5 covers the national pay bargaining outcome. So we were pleased to see a pay award agreed in October 2024, and this was backdated and paid to employees in November. The 2025 national pay bargaining process has now started, and there's a regional employers briefing arranged for next month, which we will attend. Moving on to 3.6, we have 12 apprentices in post, and they are completing various apprenticeships, including business admin, ICT technician, digital marketer, and digital support technician. And it's really good to have the flexibility within the levy to provide apprenticeships that suit our varied services. 3.7 is a short update on our graduates from the National Graduate Scheme. They are settling in well, having started in October. Each graduate will have 4 rotations lasting 6 months each, and they cover a variety of services and projects. Our current graduates are working in the enterprise team and the digital team. 3.8 provides an update on some of the activity relating to learning and development. I mentioned at the last meeting that our new learning management system was launched in July. And since then, we've been phasing the rollout of our mandatory training on that platform. There is a traffic light system, and this makes it easier for managers to monitor the completion rates for mandatory training for their teams. Following the launch of the Digital and Data Academy by our digital team, alongside the specialist digital training provider, 2 additional employees have signed up to participate, which is a total of 22, and all the courses are up and running. And apologies, because there is an error on the paper. It says 20, but the actual number is 22, not 20. And the aim is to equip staff with the skills to develop their careers, create efficiencies through new technology, and increase confidence in analysing data. 3.9 covers an update from our inclusion group, and when they met in November, they focused their discussions on the peer review, gender pay gap, and the Council's White Ribbon Action Plan. Our Equalities, Diversity and Inclusion e-learning, which was launched in October to support National Inclusion Week, forms part of the mandatory training that I spoke about just a moment ago, and currently has an 80% completion rate. So that is a good completion rate, but we will work alongside the inclusion group and managers to continue to increase this figure. And our neurodiversity network was launched in December, and the first meeting was well attended. It was a helpful and supportive meeting with various experiences and signposting shared for and by employees. And the plan is for those meetings to run for employees regularly. 3.10 covers an update on our gender pay gap data. So to provide some background, the gender pay gap is an equality measure that shows the difference in average earnings between women and men. And as part of the Equalities Act, the Council are required to publish gender pay gap calculations every year. The published date is the 30th of March. So the figures in 3.10 show our annual pay gap, and for 2024 we have a mean pay gap of 14.6%. Overall, there's been a steady improvement in the gender pay gap at the council, but we fully acknowledge that there's still work to be done to achieve the improvement required. There needs to be an ongoing focus in this area, and we action plan on this annually. So the updated action plan includes continuing support for flexible working at all levels of the organisation, launching a mentoring scheme for women, and encouraging female applicants to apply for senior roles at the council. And then finally, 3.11 covers an update on absence. You'll see the first table shows that in the last 12 months, there's been slightly over 9 days lost to sickness absence per full-time employee. And you can see that that's split into long-term and short-term absence. At a previous meeting, the group requested a comparison to establish whether this was a reasonable rate for sickness absence. So we've used the local government benchmarking tool, and I can confirm that the average number of days lost per employee of 8.2 for the period April 23 to March 24 falls slightly above average when comparing districts in the east of England, and when comparing all councils within the east of England, we are average. You'll note that that's a different rate to what's shown in our current annual, because we're looking at a full year for 23 to 24 that we don't yet have for 24 to 25. I will send the details of that to the group via email for you to review. There's been an increase in absences of up to 1 week for all types of absence except for COVID, which has remained stable. And cases of 1 to 3 weeks and over 3 weeks are broadly in line with the last quarter. I always talk about this, but HR continue to provide support to employees who are on long-term absence and for their managers. And where appropriate, we also provide support for people to remain in work if this is what they need. So that might involve occupational health referrals, adjustments to work, or signposting to various support, including our employee assistance programme. I'm happy to take questions.
Thank you very much. That was very comprehensive. Right. Any questions? Rona.
Thank you, Chair. When I read your report, Rebecca, which I thought was absolutely excellent as usual, so clear and with lots of information. And in your presentation you've given this morning, you've covered lots of the questions I was going to ask. But I think I asked before about apprenticeships, and forgive me for my ignorance. What is the limit? Why are we limited to for apprenticeships? Is it the levy? Is it finance? Is it government legislation? Or is it department capacity? I mean, I would like to see more apprenticeships if possible.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Thank you. So we have a salary budget for apprenticeships, and that's an annual salary budget, which we there or thereabouts max out wherever we can every year. So that would be the limit, the salary budget. We need to pay the salaries for our apprentices.
Okay, does that answer your question, Rona?
Well, who sets the salary budget then?
That's set by a leadership team as part of the budget approval process.
And if we wanted to, we could actually increase that. Although obviously I understand it would mean that maybe other areas would be decreased. But I mean, are you saying that is the main problem, that it's not capacity, it's not because some departments couldn't cope with apprentices, and or is it just the finance?
Well, we need to make sure that we provide the correct support for an apprentice. The recruiting managers and the teams need to have the capacity to provide that as well. So there is a bit there about whether we would, if we increase the salary budget, whether there would be enough vacancies as such, enough teams that could support an apprentice. So we do have them spread across various services. Some services use them regularly, and there will be others that haven't had the capacity in several years to be able to have an apprentice. Demand, what we usually do in terms of allocating apprenticeships, when the budget is available, when we can see there will be budget available, we speak to service managers to establish who would like an apprentice. We don't often have a long waiting list for that. So occasionally we might have a couple of services on the waiting list for an apprentice, and we need to wait for leavers, but usually the waiting list is sorted fairly quickly, and we don't have lots of services kind of wanting an additional apprentice above and beyond what our salary budget currently allows.
Okay, that sounds like quite a comprehensive answer. So my understanding, and it's a really good question, is that the limit on the number of apprenticeships is basically about staff capacity to support and manage those apprenticeships rather than the budget. And the budget is presumably commensurate with how many we can actually absorb within the organisation. It sounds like it's that way round. From what I'm hearing, is that correct, Rebecca?
Yes, yeah, I think
Yes.
there's a bit of both there, but yes, it would, even if we were to increase the salary budget, I don't know that we would have still a long waiting list for apprentices. I don't know that we would be able to fill all of those posts given the interest within service areas or the ability within service areas.
Yes. And that's very understandable because obviously it requires quite a lot of commitment to properly supervise and support an apprentice. Claire.
Can I just quiz on this topic to say that Daniel and I have discussed this in our meetings with Anthony in a very positive way to look at actually expanding the number of apprentices.
Okay, thank you. Claire.
Yeah, thank you, Ruth. I wanted to just home in a little bit on the gender pay gap bit, because though the figures are moving in the right direction, they are still moving quite slowly. Is my understanding, because the organisation is a majority of women, and perhaps you could tell me what percentage is male, female, if I'm allowed to use those gender specific categorizations in how you're doing this calculation.
Thank you. Yes, Rebecca.
Percentage of male and female, I don't have that figure to hand. I can get that for you. You're correct that it's moving slowly. I read the report from the CIPD on gender pay gap, and there's an acknowledgement within that there isn't a silver bullet in terms of fixing this, because it's not just a North Herts issue. It's not just a local government issue. It's a national problem. And the changes that we make are focused on the long-term goal, appreciating that we won't, unless there are big changes in terms of our workforce profile, we won't be able to make quick changes to this pay gap, which is why I talk about this being an ongoing focus. So some of the impact on our pay gap is related to having a managing director who is male, and some of it relates to having outsourced areas such as waste, which might traditionally attract male candidates. And so that will slightly throw the balance off. If those things were to change, then you would see a quick change in the pay gap. But in terms of what our action plan looks like, we're looking at making small incremental progress that is ongoing.
Thank you very much for that answer. I also had a question on pay gap, so I may as well ask it now. I wondered if there's a target. I mean, I suppose the target should be naught, that there's no difference. But is there an internal target? And again, how do we compare with other councils that are similar size?
There isn't a target. We haven't set a target. You're right, it should be zero. The likelihood of getting to zero, I don't think that's likely. It's more likely that we will hover. If we were in the ideal position, would be to hover around that area. So go into the minus and move up into the lower numbers. You do see lots of councils with a minus percentage figure because they pay women more than men. So it can swing both ways. In terms of comparison, I had a look at some data yesterday. And we are by no means the worst performing council, and the progress that we've made has been really good, but we are above average in terms of our pay gap, and that, like I say, is acknowledged. And inclusion group are fully aware of that. We have a subgroup for action planning specifically on the gender pay gap, because we know that this is something that needs to be a focus.
Thank you very much. I mean, it sounds like, you know, I support the kind of work you're doing, the incremental work. I think I totally agree that you can't suddenly have a silver bullet. And obviously, if we changed our managing director to a female, that would massively change the stats, presumably overnight. But that doesn't actually mean that we've necessarily improved overall. So I can see that it's quite nuanced. So thank you for that answer, and thank you for the work you're doing. Rona.
Just to follow up on that, when I was reading your report, I noticed that one of the things you do is that female members of staff are encouraged to apply for senior roles. I mean, you know, I think all of our experience is that when you're working in organisations, one of the big problems is that, you know, women just don't apply for things. How do you go about encouraging women to apply for senior roles, and also, you know, providing the training and experience necessary?
We've previously run confidence for women workshops for our female staff, and they have been really well received, well attended and well received. It's very difficult to then link any improvement in the pay gap specifically to that, because it's never just one thing that improves things. In terms of encouraging female applicants externally, we explicitly say on our advert for senior roles that we encourage applicants from females. And where we've done that, we have seen evidence that females apply and also get offered the job as well. So we will continue to do that. And I think it is about being really explicit in the advert, because you're right, the evidence shows that males may look at a job profile, a job description, and say, I'm not sure I've got all of that, but I think I can still apply. But women might look at it and say, I'm not sure I've got all of that, I'm not going to apply. So it's about trying to get over that kind of barrier for females and encourage them to apply.
Yes, thank you. That's very well evidenced, isn't it? That thing about applications that you've just said. Thank you. Val.
Sorry. Can I ask about the interview process? Have you taken steps which might help women to apply or want to apply, for instance, by giving questions in advance? And if so, is this available in the advertisements? This knowledge is known.
Thank you. We are taking steps towards transparent interviews, which is where we send those questions in advance. We are trialing that at the moment on various roles, but not all of them. We have information on our website around people requesting, if they feel that they need the questions beforehand and need that as a reasonable adjustment, they can make that request. But I am encouraging recruiting managers to really seriously consider sharing the interview questions beforehand. I think that it has a really positive impact on the performance of the candidates at the interview, and what you can get from an interview, and how much information you can establish in terms of what that person will look like when they come into the workplace. So there is a trial and it is ongoing, and we're reviewing the feedback.
Great, thank you.
Quick follow-up, please, Ruth.
Yeah.
I just wonder how many potential applicants actually would ask for a transparent interview or see it as the big disadvantage, whether we could get to the point where this becomes normal within the council, this is available and this is part of the job advert.
Yeah, that's the aim of the trial, is to to see whether that's possible, and ensure that it's the right way forward for our recruiting managers and for the candidates. We have had requests, not necessarily from females, but as part of somebody who might be neurodivergent, we've had requests to share interview questions, and we respond to them and act accordingly. So that they do come through, but it wouldn't be because somebody's female that they're requesting that. But yes, we will keep an eye on the feedback that we're getting from both candidates and from recruiting managers in terms of transparent interviewing.
That's good. It sounds like it benefits a lot of different groups of people. So, and it's good that we offer that as people can ask for it. Claire.
Yeah, I mean, not so. I mean, I've kind of I raised this subject, and obviously we're having quite a debate on it, which I think is very good because, again, from somebody who came from an industry that wasn't traditionally full of women, it is very hard often for women to strive to get those senior positions and get recognition when they are in the workplace. However, I do think actually North Herts we have got, in terms of some of our senior management team, is it's very good. I mean, it's the team supporting entity is full of women, and also we have got dotted around the organisation some other very good senior women, and that's why I kind of feel again when you look at the structure of the council, which, as I said at the beginning, I had always understood was predominantly a female-based organisation as well. I guess that's why I see it, how we can get women to be encouraged to want to take on those additional levels of responsibility. Now, but I do think we have to keep in context that not all women want to go for it. There is always that work-life balance, and we do have women who want to, in their earlier years of a career, have different priorities to what they might be wanting when they get later into their careers. But I think it's the support and structures around, and also when we are recruiting, that we always have, I think, be mindful that we do need to have the right people in the right jobs with the right skill sets. And I've always been somebody that says you should never take somebody into a role if they haven't got that just because they are a woman, because actually it's demeaning to women as well.
Yeah, no, I quite agree. It needs to be authentic, the process. And the thing is about removing barriers, isn't it? But if people don't want those jobs, then that's their right as well.
But I think I think it is so incumbent on us as an employer that where we see women who have that talent, that we are giving them the training, the structure, the support to actually help them achieve goals that they perhaps never realised they could go for. And I think that's where we have a role to play.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I say that as a manager who was forever seeing talent and getting it, whether it may be male or female, because men are sometimes exactly the same, because they can be a bit lazy and think, oh, I don't think I'll bother to take, I don't want that. But I think we have to encourage good performance and good management skills and develop those through the organisations. And if those people actually then decide to leave us and go and further their career somewhere else, then again, we should be very proud that we've helped them on their career journey.
Absolutely. And it sounds to me like Rebecca and her team are doing everything they can to encourage that kind of environment where talent is spotted and encouraged, and people are encouraged to reach their potential and be aspirational. I feel from what you've said, Rebecca, that we are doing a lot in that direction. Hopefully the rest of you agree with me. Raina.
Right, sorry, we may have already answered this, I may have missed it, but are we also encouraging women to go for more senior roles internally as well as advertising externally? Are we finding we're doing that within the organisation?
Rebecca,
yes,
nodding.
Yes, so adverts will be seen by internal staff as well, so they'd need to go through the same process, so they would see that explicit line encouraging female applicants. So yes, and then the other parts of that action plan include things like development focused on confidence for women, and the mentoring scheme is about ensuring women have the confidence to apply. So yes, it's internal as well. I just wanted to go back to Claire's point too, around there are more women in the organisation than men, and I absolutely agree. We need to be supporting those women to get into the senior roles, and flexibility is part of that as well, because often in our society, females take on the main caring roles, whether it might be children or older relatives. And if that flexibility isn't in place, it can make it very difficult to take on senior roles, which is why we need to look at flexibility across the board, not just assuming it applies to some roles and not others.
Yeah, thank you. Val.
Thank you. I think for women already in the organisation, it's also about relationships and how they envisage what their working lives will be like if they take promotion. And that we have got to make sure, and by we I mean the councillors and the officers, that in fact that all employees feel that they are supported and that they are not in the firing line. And I think White Ribbon will help with this. We've got a very long action plan for White Ribbon, and it's been launched. And I think the staff have taken to it very well and done training. And I think the important part is that the councillors also rise to this, and that we have more councillors, particularly who sign up, become ambassadors or champions, whether you're male or female, so we can do this together. And I think that will make women employees feel that in fact they will be in a secure place if they take promotion.
Yeah, thank you, Val. Okay, any further questions on this report? I have one. I just wanted to going to the I think this is always my question, the turnover rate, which has remained below 9%, which is good to hear, but it's hard for me to understand what that figure means without knowing how that compares with other councils. Is that below average?
I had a look at some data yesterday. Our benchmarking tool doesn't cover what we need to make a comparison. So I will need to wait for the data to be on that tool to be able to do that. But I've noted that we need a comparison in that area as well as the absence area. So yes, our turnover, I think I saw a stat yesterday saying that turnover for the UK overall is 34%. It's a huge number in comparison. But of course, we need to compare apples with apples, and so we need the local government. Yeah, we need the
local government figures. So so 34% for every industry. Yes, so that's helpful. I mean, turnover shouldn't just be viewed as bad anyway, because some turnover is good, obviously. It's not like the gender pay gap where your aspiration would be for it to be zero. I don't know that we'd want our turnover to be zero, because you need fresh blood coming into an organisation. Some turnover is good. As Councillor Strong has just said, if someone develops well and moves on to another role elsewhere, then we should be proud that they've had that development in our council and been able to move on to a more senior role elsewhere. So it's not all bad, but I just think it's helpful to benchmark these things. Rainer.
Just moving back from the last question, which I forgot to mention. So Rebecca, you mentioned that previously you've run classes to help encourage women to be more confident and apply for these senior roles. Is anything like that going to be happening this year moving forward? Any more classes being run?
It's on the list for action, but it's not something that we are focused on at this point. As you can imagine, we have to look at various routes for development and different types of workshops and courses. But like I say, we had good feedback. So I think repeating that would be a positive thing.
Thank you.
Thank you. I've just remembered I've got one more question, and it's around the vacancies. I note that estate surveyor is still vacant. That I know these are really hard to fill roles. I presume we're doing everything we can. So what are we doing to try and recruit to that role?
Yes, the post is filled temporarily, so it's not a complete vacancy in that sense. So the work will be being progressed. But my team are in contact with the recruiting manager to look at a more permanent solution. So there hasn't been, since the previous, we tried 2 times to recruit, and since that last time was unsuccessful, we haven't gone out again. So we're in contact and looking to get a more permanent solution for that post. But like I say, it's temporarily filled at the moment.
Yeah, so the work's being done at least, but not the most ideal solution. Okay, thank you very much for that answer. Any further questions on this report? I'd just like to say thank you to Rebecca and her team again. I do think it's a very helpful, very clear report, very comprehensive, and thank you for all your detailed answers to our questions, and all the work you're doing to continue to improve the organisation, and the staffing. I think we'll move on to item 6 now. No vote was required on that, was information note. A discussion paper on mental health support, which is our topic for this meeting. And it's over to you again, Rebecca, to present.
Thank you, Chair. Would you like me to run through the paper?
Have people read it? Oh, it's not incredibly long. Do we need Rebecca to run through it, or should we just head straight into a discussion? I think it's short enough to go straight into a discussion. So I'll start by saying I absolutely welcome the fact that we are going beyond our obligations, and the minimum requirements, which we should be an exemplar. We should be doing that in lots of areas, and it's good to see that we're doing it in this area. And I also love your paragraph about that it should be treated as important as physical health, and it's best to prevent issues. We want to keep people in the workplace. We don't want people burning out. It's not good for us. It's not good for them. So I think that preamble was really good. I really liked that. I have one question. We've obviously got a lot of things in place. Great to hear that you're using wellness action plans. I used to train on those, but I think I've asked this before. Employee assistance programs are typically, they don't have a very good uptake. Do you know what our uptake is on ours?
I don't have that figure to hand. I can get that. You're right. It will be fairly low. That isn't unusual. That is a standard kind of response to an employee assistance program. I do, however, know that when we've received feedback, especially around the counselling sessions, it's been positive. So I know that the counselling sessions are being used, but I can definitely get some of our management information to give you a feel for usage as well.
Thank you very much. And the GP helpline sounds like an excellent idea, given how difficult it is to get GP appointments now. So maybe the uptake of that is even greater. Who knows? Any questions from the panel, Claire?
Yes, it's a question about World Mental Health Day and what, as an organisation, is going to be planned for it.
Good question.
Good question. We would usually have highlight things like our bite-size e-learning that is on the learning management system, and we would highlight signposting for external support. We talk about our employee assistance program all the time, but we would be looking at some increased communications, and yeah, potentially some focused e-learning as well for staff.
Can I suggest that we do a bit more than just focusing? We actually have maybe some, because my experience is often if somebody is struggling and you say, "Are you okay?" and they'll say, "I'm fine," but they're not fine. Can maybe on I mean, we've got plenty of time to plan for it, but maybe we have like a big open coffee morning or something within the staff to bring staff together so that they can perhaps, try and eke it out a bit more and put more focus on it than just sending around an email, which will get read.
Yeah,
I think I would support that. I mean, I've been involved in many World Mental Health Day events as an employee of Mind, going to organisations that are running like an event where they'd have in their canteen, for example. I know we don't have that, but they would have different stalls of people showing what they can offer, and people can go around and talk to them, and that sort of event. I wonder if counsellors could be involved as well. I mean, I know there is an issue. Obviously, staff might need to talk confidentially and don't want counsellors to be involved, but is there a role for a counsellor or a lead, one of the cabinet members who leads on this kind of area, probably Alistair, I guess, to think about being involved in setting something up? What do you think, Rebecca?
yeah, I'm interested in all of that. I think one of the things that have been talked about at Inclusion Group is that what really helps people understand their own mental health and others is having examples of real life situations being shared. And I appreciate that people won't always feel comfortable doing that. But I think that is always helpful for people to see. But yes, open to, I think it's something that we can talk about within Inclusion Group in terms of how we want to approach it, and their views on it as well. So yes, we can certainly do some more work around it.
Yeah, I mean, can I just suggest maybe that you perhaps look at them, focus on the I'm Fine campaign, and perhaps do that and do something, do that, highlighting it. I mean, the World Mental Health Days, it's not until October, so.
Mm. Yeah, there
Thank
was
you.
also the Are You Okay, Mate, wasn't there? That campaign which says, I'm fine, ask a second time, ask twice. The Ask Twice campaign. Was it Rethink Mental Illness that did that? That was very helpful. I wonder about a lunch and learn on Mental Health Day, where people a few people might be prepared to share their experience.
Well, I always do it with
type
cake, to be
learning.
honest. I always do it with cake. Cake
Yeah,
solves
I've
lots of
said
problems
lunch and
for me.
learn. Lunch and learn or
It's
coffee and
cake for
learn
me.
or
One of the things that we have done in the past is allocate one of our personal development mornings to a topic. We did that with inclusion, and we could do that with mental health, which would give people some time, allocated time away from the normal day to day to be able to develop their understanding and skills in terms of supporting others with mental health. So we could look at something like that.
Excellent, lots of ideas. I think it'd be great if counsellors could be more involved in something like this. Like we're involved in Holocaust Memorial Day, be involved in World Mental Health Day and make it more of a council event. Because obviously you're doing loads of good work amongst the staff, but that's, as far as we're concerned, as counsellors, it's kind of behind the scenes. But World Mental Health Day obviously comes with lots of resources and lots of media attention and so forth, and it seems like a good thing that the council could actively promote and say we're involved in. And I don't see why counsellors can't help with that really. That would be my idea. Val.
To say yes, we'll take that forward. I think probably it's under my remit.
It's under your remit. Okay.
Yes, I'll contact Rebecca.
Okay, thank you. Ian.
Picking up on the sort of the Are You Okay point, as part of the responsive staff survey, we're looking at how we can support managers and asking that question in one-to-ones and for that regular update process to make sure they're answering it in a meaningful way. As Councillor Brout strongly alluded to, asking Are You Okay and get this once, yeah, I'm fine, is probably not what we're looking for. So yeah, we're looking at how to support managers to ask that question in better ways and you're given the skills to kind of respond to that in a positive way as well. So yeah, we're looking at that as well, because that's kind of an ongoing thing we need to do to kind of make sure we're getting that support when it's needed to people.
Absolutely. And when I was working in this sort of area, it was always bottom up, top down approach. So equipping managers to be able to create the environment where they can know how to ask the questions, create the environment where people can ask. So, and giving also all employees the confidence to raise the issues. So it's working on both levels. I think that's really helpful, that training for managers. Rainer.
So yeah, I think the allocated time is a really good idea, because I think if you are struggling with mental health, some people on lunch breaks and things may be doing their own thing, like going for a walk or something that makes them feel good to get out in nature. So I just wanted to say, yeah, I think allocated time is a really good idea. And I really like the idea of having an informal chat and sharing stories. Like you said, I don't think everyone's necessarily going to open up to that. But like I'd happily be a volunteer. I struggle a bit, and if you do want someone to give a story, I'd do that for the good. So if you need me, I'm here.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. What a great offer. Any more comments or questions around the mental health paper? I think that's been a really good discussion, and as I say, I'm very pleased to hear that we're going above and beyond in this area. And I'm sure there's always more you can do, but and we've had some good suggestions today, so hopefully those will be taken forward, and we'll be doing even more. Thank you, Rebecca, again for putting that together, and for all your contributions.
Can
I
we have a report back when we next meet, Rebecca? So can you stick it on your report that what the plan is as well, so we
That would be
don't
good
lose
for
it.
World Mental Health Day, particularly in 10th of October, isn't it?
Yeah, I had to look
Yeah.
it up. I knew it was October. I did have to look the date, so I did
Oh,
cheat.
I think it's ingrained on my memory, having worked in the area
But
for a
no,
while.
if you could perhaps add it into the report so we don't lose it, I would appreciate that.
No, that's a good suggestion. Thank you. Okay,
And
approved by member.
maybe Ian, actually again, coming back to maybe Ian, when you're at the employee forums, you could actually raise it there and ask what ideas might come out of that as well. Oh, he's nodding. I always like it when Ian nods at me.
Yeah, we'll put on the agenda to have a discussion about it. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. Okay, we'll move on then. So future discussion topics. Now, I believe the one that's scheduled for next time is neurodiversity in the workplace, which follows up nicely from the work you've already been doing with staff. But then there are various other ones as possibilities for future meetings. So the March meeting, I think neurodiversity was proposed. The staff survey was also proposed as possibly in March, but I don't know whether we can do both of those things in one meeting. And then just to ask if anybody wants to add to the list of suggested discussion topics.
I
Becca,
would
have you
like
got
to
any?
see the result. I would like to see the results of the staff survey. And
Okay.
you're blurred. I don't know what you've done to your camera.
I don't know what's done to my camera. Something's happened to my camera. I don't know what's going on. This is my council laptop, by the way. Don't know. I'm blurred. I'm a blurry ghost in the background. Sorry, everyone. I can't do anything about it. Yes, I think I'd like to see the results of the staff survey as well. My question to Rebecca is, do you think it's too much to do neurodiversity and staff survey in March? And will the staff survey action plan be ready for March?
Ian has his hand up. I guess that's to respond to this staff survey
Okay.
question. Do you want to take that,
Okay,
Ian?
sorry, Ian, over to you.
Both do it, but yes, the staff action plan ready. We're presenting it back to staff briefing in February, so we're ready for the meeting in March. And yeah, I think it's timely to bring it then. These meetings are scheduled for 2 hours, so we can take up the 2 hours we want
They
to.
are.
So
Yeah.
yeah, fine to do both in one meeting. But yeah, not
Okay, so we'll do both.
of those.
Yeah. I think, yes, time is of the essence with the staff survey. We don't want to, because these meetings don't happen very often, do they? They're quarterly, I think, aren't they? So yeah, so we'll have neurodiversity in the workplace and staff survey action plan for discussion in March. And then there are some other topics, suggested topics for the future, which you can all read in the paper. Is there anything else that anybody would like to add, or anything people think should be on the next one? So is it June, the next meeting? What would be the priority for June from what do the committee think out of the ones we've already discussed, or any future one? Anybody got strong feelings? I mean, we've got employee rights bill, managing short-term absence, flexible working, social media for recruitment, succession planning and development, microaggressions and unconscious bias in the workplace. Any strong feelings on what should come next? No? Rainer?
I think unconscious bias in the workplace could be quite an interesting one. Just a thought.
Definitely. Yeah. So would people like to discuss that in June? Would that work? Would that work for whoever's writing the paper? Is it you, Rebecca, or is it someone else? Yeah, because I got the
Yes,
staff survey
any
thing
one
wrong.
of
It was Ian.
those. Any one of
Okay.
those discussion topics for June, and we tend to have 1 or 2 discussion topic papers each meeting.
Okay, 1 or 2. Okay, so let's put on microaggressions and unconscious bias on the agenda for June then. Is there anything else out of that list that people would like to talk about in June? Or shall we wait and see what happens and see if something more pertinent comes up in between for the second topic? That might be a good idea, mightn't it? Because we don't know what's going to happen between now and June. Val, do you want to say something? You look like you did.
I did. Also, when we get the results of the peer challenge.
Oh, yes. So there might be something that's pertinent to this particular group out of that
Yes.
corporate peer challenge action plan. That the action plan's going to be February, March published, is it? Is that right? For this?
Something like that.
Yeah. So that could maybe come into the June one as well, or possibly the March one, but probably not in time. So any other topics anybody wants to add?
Not at the moment, thank you.
We've got quite a list anyway, and some things may come up in the interim. So I think that concludes our meeting. What else am I supposed to say? The next meeting's the 19th of March. And thank you all very much for coming. And sorry I went blurry. Don't know what that's about. I'll have to get onto IT.
You are still blurry.
And I know. I went in and out for a while and then it went totally blurry. I don't know why that is. Maybe it's Zoom. Maybe I need to sort Zoom out because I've got a background on Teams as well, but I haven't sorted out the background for Zoom. Thank you all very much for your time and for your hard work and everything you're doing to support employees and so forth, and in the sort of learning sphere as well, learning and development. I wish you all a very happy New Year. I hope you're all feeling nicely refreshed and have a good day the rest of the day. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ruth.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.